Hello all, welcome back again to my YouTube channel SZ Academy. Today we're going to talk about common Excel error types. So everyone experiences these common Excel errors, and the purpose of this demo or the lecture is to talk about six of the most common error types. Uh, we have discussed what they mean and how to fix them, and actually practice experiencing them inside the Excel environment. So let's get started with the first error type. This is the hash mark error, and honestly, it's the simplest of all the errors because all it means is that the column isn't wide enough to display the underlying values. Fix there, super simple. All you have to do is drag or double click your column to increase the width until it can contain that value. So let's jump into an Excel and see what this error looks like in content. So here we are in the Excel, back in our fixed and the relative reference type tab. This is where we built out those projection in our last lecture, and if you want to see that lecture, the link is in description box or it is available in the I button in the right hand corner. So here for that hash marks error, we have seen it before. Let's go ahead and replicate it in the same way that we produced it in the first case, which was removing any fixed references in the like E5 were chosen. So from this I'm removing this one and dragging it down. I'm entering this and dragging it to the right. We see that, or even down, the multiple values are there. So which now remember this produce those astronomical values here in the column E, F, G, H, and etc. And remember this is very easy. And let's look at the column, say H, by just dragging this one like this, or either hover over the edge or column, or drag over to this one, or you may just double click it, so you will get that output as a fit with the widest or the longest value inside of that column, which in this case is the probably the simplest approach. So that looks good. Let's go ahead and undo those things what we did. Control Z, and that's done now. So the next is 1 second. Yeah. So the next is the name error, and this is when like Excel doesn't recognize the text within the formula. It's Excel basically saying, "What are you asking me to do right now? I don't understand." And so the way to fix that is to just make sure that your function names are correct, that your reference are valid, and that any text that you are typing to reference within a function is surrounded in the quotes. So let's see what this look like back into your on our Excel workbook. Let's say we want to add a new formula here anywhere, like in this cell here, and we are going to use something like a match function. So equals match, one of the parentheses. Again, we are going to cover this in depth. Like if you want to see that video, just the link is in the I button. Go ahead and just look it out, this one. But basically I'm saying here, hey Excel, I want you to match this texting which is product A in quotes, comma, and I want you to try to find its match right cell in the B5 to B8. And for the match type, which is comma match type, I'm gonna type it as a 0 because we want the fixed one. So I want you to find the exact match now. And when I press the enter by closing of the parentheses, it works great. I'm get the 1 out as an output because it's found product A in the first position within this range. That's kind of how the match function works. But what if we spell match as wrong? Like if we delete the T or C from the match formula, and well, for this scenario the Excel is confused because there is no match function, and it gives me the output as a name error. That's very common reason why you might see this name error. The other reason is if you had a spelled the function properly, like in the match function C, we're just putting C again. But if we remove the chords of the product A, and if we enter, still you get the name error again. So this is all about the name error. So next up, let's get to the value error. And this is saying that your formula has the wrong type or the argument, and far away the most common cause of this value error is when you are trying to multiply text with the values. So if you are trying to perform some sort of arithmetic operations on the text strings or the cell that are formatted as a text, this is where you mostly run across this error. So now let's get back to the Excel again. So to produce a value error here, let's say right here we add a new function, and we try to multiply a value like equals multiply this value like 1 lakh we have, which is multiply with uh, let's say a texting product A, anyone, but let's say product A. And just thinking about it, there's really no rational reasonable result that can come out of this. There is no real way to multiply text and the numbers, and Excel is equally confused with that. So that's why you see the value error returning, and obviously this is very kind of clear cut case. You're multiplying 1 lakh by a product A, which is string, but other times it's not gonna be so crystal clear. You may have values that are kind of disguised as text, or text that are disguised as values. Phone number and the zip codes are the great example of this one, where where it might not be quite so clear, it might be a little bit trickier to diagnose these values issues. So keep that in mind. That's the value error. Now let's go to the our value, which is the fourth error type, which is dividing by zero. This one speaks for itself. It means that you are dividing by the zero or an empty cell. So just check your division or check your the denominator. One thing here to note that sometimes it's okay to have a zero as your denominator. It doesn't necessarily mean you have done anything wrong. Wrong. And in those cases, you can use things like if statement or if error formulas to kind of mask that error and display an alternative values of if you choose. It's a common tool when you are trying to build polished user facing reports or dashboards, and I think that's one is straightforward enough that we don't need to do a hands-on example for this one. So let's move on right to the next one, which is the ref error, reference error. And that means that your formula is referring to a cell that's no longer valid. Common cause is when you reference a cell or a range and then accidentally move, delete, or replace that range that you had previously referenced. So this is actually a pretty common one. Let's jump into an Excel and see the how it works. So I will show you a common cause for why this might happen. Remember that all of these values that we created for our projection were based on our growth rates in the column C. So what if we accidentally deleted that column? Well, you get a whole range of reference errors, and that's because Excel is trying to evaluate the function here, and in this argument of the function it's pointing to a cell that's no longer exists. So that old cell reference that would have pointed to the growth rate is now replaced by a rough error, and that's how the formula evaluates. Let's control Z here, and we'll get that column back again. But that's the really the most common cause of the reference error. You have reference to a cell and then accidentally move or return or deleted it. so that excel can no longer trace back to that source. Now just back again to the final, the last error, which is an error. And this means that this error means that you have a formula that can't find or locate a referenced value. This is a little bit different from the reference error, where we are, I mean, unable to find an enter cell references. In this case, it's usually caused by searching for some sort of match that can't be found. So this is really common with lookup and reference functions is things like index, match, vlookup, hlookup. Those are the cases where you might likely to run into an error. So let's jump back again last time to the excel, and I will show you an example of one, I mean, when you might experience this one earlier as well. Back in Excel, let's jump into the our formula in B11, which is this one. Remember, we wrote that match function to search for product A within the sale ranges here. Let's go ahead and edit that formula in the formula bar. I'm going to like surrounded product A and chords again, which is this one. And instead of A, let's search for product E. Now obviously you are saying that product it doesn't exist within that range we have. So when we press the enter here, that's where we would get an any error. So it's pretty common examples. We have seen more cases of this as we take into the VLOOKUP or the HLOOKUP formulas later on in this course, or if you want to see, the it is available in our checklist. So but there you have it, and that's your quick crash course in the sixth of the most common excel errors types and how to begin to diagnose them. So thank you all for watching this video. If you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe the channel to get more videos on the SZ Academy. Thank you all.